The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Monday and the final day of February 2022. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House One Communications, People's Pharmacy, and Linda's. I'm Jamal Hartman. He's Larry Marshall Jr. Yeah, Sherry ditched you. You know how Sherry is always talking about she loves Fridays? She's gonna love Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday this week because she ain't gotta see all of you. I'm just saying. I'm just the messenger. Do not come at me. But it's Larry and me today. Guess what? And Leanna. Lee said, yeah, I'm going to enjoy a couple more Fridays too. So they left the fellas alone. So, you know, and the cat's away, the mouse is about to play. Bro, how you feeling, bro? Oops, sorry.
Yep.
Yo, I got you.
Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Happy to be in. You know, they left the fellas hanging, but at the end of the day, we can handle it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we've got this. We've got this. But Sherry will be out this week, folks. Leanna is a bit under weather, so make sure you send them some love. Hey, honestly, they could be just, you know, saying I'm tired of Jamila, I need a break from him, and that would be understandable too. I know who I am. I know who I am. Why you think
no
Larry?
Surprises.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Why you think he comes once a month? But we have a lot to discuss today. Some things going on. Obviously, the Premier of Bermuda delivered his budget speech, but we're going to be focusing on that all day tomorrow. We have Craig Simmons, the economist and lecturer from the Bermuda College. He'll be stopping by to discuss the budget speech with us, and you know, getting some feedback from you all on that. We obviously had questions on social media on our Instagram page about that. But today, well, good morning, everyone. First off, excuse my manners. Cher's not here, and I act like Larry and I are just in the bar watching a game. But good morning to you all, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome Garita, Coddington, and Jamila, Godwin on to discuss professional coaching and development. And I'm going to tell you, a show like this is long overdue. And I'll tell you what, Larry, you're a coach. You coach, you coach running, you've coached children for probably the last 20 years. But one of the things I've noticed, and I'm a big proponent of LinkedIn, right, which is a professional network.
Yeah.
So many people go through their entire career without professional coaching or mentorship. And I don't know if I always ask people, do I have permission to say your name in public or on the air? But I am thankful for the professional coaches and mentors that I have. And, you know, some people say, man, you've had a pretty okay career, you know, but I tell you, a lot of the work that I do or things you think I'm benefiting from come from those who have been behind me. So if you think it's important to have coaching in sports, I'm telling you, your career needs it and deserves it as well. So looking forward to conversation with them. The Daily Play is a Who Said It. So Larry's going to be guessing a famous sports quote. I'm sure he's got this, though. I'm sure he's got this, folks.
Sports quote. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure you've got it. But we have to have an important conversation. I'm going to tell you what that conversation is. I know you probably expecting budget, but like I said, we're going to discuss that tomorrow. But something came up. Something came up yesterday in one of my chat groups, and it hadn't been made public yet. Right? Sorry, it probably came up Saturday or no, early yesterday morning.
Yeah.
But the Royal Gazette titles it "Football Off as Referees Down Tools." Now, this is a community conversation here, folks. This is a community conversation. Watch it now. According to the Royal Gazette, the Bermuda Football Association has announced that all matches scheduled for today, which was yesterday, have been postponed because of a work stoppage by referees. The Royal Gazette understands that officials were abused at matches yesterday, prompting the Bermuda Referees Association to take this decision in support of dwindling membership. Well, several matches in the past few weeks have been postponed because of a shortage of officials. With this action, now we're in the situation in crisis mode. Well, folks, it's time to have a conversation. And I tell you, now, first off, yes or no in the audience, yes or no. How many of you follow local football? If you can give me a yes or no, how many of you actually follow local football? Because we actually had a gentleman, was it Tucker, one recently, Larry? What was the gentleman?
Yes, from the BFA who did the
media
marketing side.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So we had a
rights.
gentleman, a Johnny Tucker from the Bermuda Football Association on recently, and spoke about some of the upcoming changes and how they're going out for media rights. So we have an open relationship with the Bermuda Football Association, but I mean, games can't be played without officials, and I think this is a community problem. A community problem. At the end of the day, I mean, mind you, I didn't like a lot of my teachers, right? And you know, some would say I abused them under my breath, and you know, I got detention and things happened and so on. But a game that needs officials, folks, I'm not quite sure abuse them, regardless of the standard of the game.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure that abuse is the best thing. Now, to answer the question I asked, how many people follow local football? Carlton Fleming says yes. Traveling Trotty says no. Monica Dunstan says yes. Esther K. Harvey says yes. Sonia Clark, yes. Angeline Butler, yes. Terry K. says the biggest yes, representing Hot Peppers, and Michelle White says no. Okay, well, this is a good thing because quite a few of you follow local football. So here's the question of the morning. And I want Larry to be the first to answer this. What can we learn from the referees' Dawn and tools in Bermuda football? Because this is a greater community. And I'm going to use Terry K as an example, right? Why this is a bigger community issue. So Terry is, you know, a big rep for the Hamilton Parish Workmen's Club. But also she's a community activist. I don't like titles. She probably doesn't either, but she's out there doing something. And I'm sure she will tell you, I'm not putting words in her mouth, that the kind of behavior that is pushing referees away is the kind of behavior that we are seeing in our community that needs to stop. It needs to stop. Because again, regardless of how we feel about these, if you are out there playing football or softball or cricket, we've seen in cup match a couple years now where you've had umpires that have made decisions that are not favorable and players reacting in a certain manner. This got to stop. So again, we can't allow our emotions to respond to what we believe is bad, officiating. If that's the way we feel, do what Bermudians Against the Draft did and create a movement.
Yes, this is unfortunate, and I think that it's been long overdue. And I think when you talked about local football, I want everyone to really look bigger than just First Division, Premier Division. These types of assaults at referees tend to happen at under-7 matches, all different types of junior matches, and it may not be a vast or great amount at that level, but it filters down. And we as a community really need to look at what we're doing. And sports is emotional. At the end of the day, I get it. I get it when a player gets given an LBW and they feel they're not out and people want them to act in a respectable manner that's full of emotion. It's a lot of things. I can get that. But it's a line. And I think what we are talking about, if we've heard racial abuse, homophobic slurs, like just things that you're just saying, really, does it really take you there? And from players, from fans, and it's just that line. And if you have to ask yourself, have I crossed the line? I think that's a start. But it's some people that are habitual, and something has to be done.
Yeah, indeed. And I like how you mentioned that it's not just the adult game. It's, folks, you all know I'm a very emotional being in respect to, I've coached youth football. And when I was coaching, one thing I always tried to do is ensure that I was not doing anything that made players think that certain behaviors were okay. I coached 9 through 11-year-olds. So even when I got emotional, I did not want them to see something that probably was not be good for them to express as well. At the end of the day, there were tons of times that I felt referees made wrong decisions. And I would always say, the game should never be down to the referee if we're doing what we have to do. Right.
Yeah.
That's just how I looked at it. Again, easier said than done sometimes. Now, Sam
Yes.
Catboy says, I've always said it. It's just a game. Oh boy.
No,
I don't know about that, Sam.
Woo.
Guys are untidy and need to do better. I've been on the coaching and management side of things, and you just have to respect the officials. It's disgusting. I do agree with you, like respecting the officials. And if it's bad, like if you feel like there's an injustice done, right? I think that there are ways to go about it. Ask for this official not to be registered for your team anymore, or there has to be a process. Now, if there's a process that's in place, I don't know about it, but if you don't agree with the process that's in place, then guess what? We work to get another process put out there. But my concern, I'm going to be honest with you, my concern is that this issue is not just about football. This is a community issue. That's my biggest concern with this.
And
go ahead, Larry.
At the end of the day, I bring up a lot of times, the children are watching, and this isn't games that are just happening at 11 o'clock at night. These are games that's happening at 2:30 on a Sunday afternoon. It's supposed to be a family-friendly environment, and then you're looking at a lady shouting verbal personal attacks at the referee, or a player that's just going far beyond what should be happening. And again, because you heard the argument of, well, overseas those refs get this, that, and the other day, and Bermuda we can't take. No, at the end of the day, respect is due to a dog, and it's one thing about being emotional and getting your point across or disagreeing. It's a line when you start to personally and verbally attack an individual, and it shouldn't be tolerated. And I'm glad the refs are taking a stand.
I want to go back to Sam Cat Place's comment, because she said it's just a game. And, I say, no, I don't think that's the way to approach it. But I will say this in this respect, and this is no disrespect to any Bermudian playing football for their local club that they love. But guys, it's amateur football. Most of you are not being paid a salary. Most of you are doing it for the love of the game, right? So if you're doing it for the love of the game, do better. That's all I'll say. Just do better.
Yeah.
Do better.
And what is the part of the solution? I know we're going to get to the questions, but try to be a part of the solution than just complaining.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because it was shared in a group of mine a couple weeks ago. Former Bermuda International, Kentwan Jennings, was out there refereeing. And I was like, Kentwan's a ref. To me, that's a part of being that's a solution, right? Because you're taking a player who's been at the highest in the game in Bermuda. Kentwan also played, I believe him and Mishak went to England and played for a bit. To me, that's part of the solution. It's former players who are respected in the game coming back and giving back. And I think there's a certain level of respect that comes with that. But at the end of the day, if this is a game you love, that you're out there playing on the weekend for your community, for your neighborhood, with your friends, we've got to do better. Again, question of the morning: what can we learn from the referees, Don and Tools in Bermuda football? Terry K says, everyone that involved with the game needs to respect the game, from the sports association right down to the spectators. And we can't forget that, folks, because we have been discussing the players, spectators. Yeah. I've been to games where I've seen stuff thrown on the field at referees' decisions in Bermuda.
And most of my comments were made from looking at spectators. It's rough, you know what I mean? And I'll share a quick story. I actually ran the line for a practice game one time, and I made 2 offside calls, and the crowd descended on me like the wrath of like something that I've never seen. But you know me, I pop back, you know what I mean? I'm shouting back at people, and it gave me a new appreciation of how, and these were clear cut offside. The players would have been like, this guy's cheating if I didn't call him. And the fans didn't care. They just came on me. So I recognized that that's a tough job, and they deserve a little more respect than they get.
I always say the 2 hardest jobs in Bermuda are educators and police, right? Because I feel they have the least support and have the jobs that they do probably impact the public the most next to politicians.
Mhm.
And I feel like referees fall in that same bucket, although it's not full-time and there's not the same level of commitment. Terry K says there
Yep.
needs to be consistency on respect to reprimanding people. Karen Simmons goes on to say, do people even ask themselves, have I crossed the line? I would wager that the answer is no. Respect that the referees are human doing their best. Sonia Clark, she says, there needs to be a calming and checking our attitudes, period. Tensions are very unsettled in our community, period. This is just another area of this type of behavior showing up. Lack of respect and disregard for your brother. Carlton Fleming and Chico Reno for you, Larry.
The refs are horrible, but they are not cheating. It's only a game.
Coming from a guy, yeah. And let's emphasize that. Yeah, we're not defending the referees by any shot.
Yes, there's no way.
If they're bad, they're bad. I mean, we watched English football this weekend and saw horrible calls, and they have VAR, video assistant referee, like horrible, right? Inconsistent. But at the end of the day, they are human beings, and unfortunately, the way it works is we've got to respect the decision they've made. She can run for you, Larry.
The referees are protecting their energy, not engaging in the negative.
Mm-hmm. And Terry K says, what can we learn is that the laws of the game need to be understood by everyone. I think oftentimes people don't realize what rules may have changed with respect officiating. Well, you know what's interesting? I'm going to keep that comment up for a while because Gary Moreno, the communications manager for the Bermuda Police Service, actually put a long post maybe last week or a couple of weeks ago where he explained that, the Bermuda Police Service doesn't create the laws. They just enforce the laws, and maybe enforce is probably not the best word, but they're there to make sure that you respect and follow the laws, right? But I think what she says is what we can learn is that the laws of the game need to be understood by everyone. I think laws, period, in life need to be understood by everyone and how they work, right? It's like politics. Many of us really, and rightfully so, if we vote or have the opportunity, we complain about politics and politicians. Truth is, not many of us really understand how politics works.
Yeah,
that's the truth. Yeah. So I think we have to do ourselves a service and learn more about the things that would concern us and that we not complain about, but want to give feedback about.
Mm-hmm. Here's one thing that no one has kind of mentioned right now, and obviously this won't be by the players. But what role does alcohol have in these types of things? And if you go to a game in the UK, people say, okay, well, they come to the games drinking like that. However, when you go to the game, you cannot sit in your chair with an alcoholic beverage. In Bermuda, you can get shots of Henny, Shivers, whatever you want, or any type of drink that you want to get. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if that has an impact on these types of decisions.
Well, you all know me. I've long been a person who stated that we should have stopped selling alcohol during the game.
Yeah.
Maybe after, but I've been that way since I was coaching youth football at North Village from 2007 to 2010. I was a proponent of not serving it. I was at a football coaching course at a local club, and there were youth players out. This is during the week, and they were training while we were there doing this course. The bar was open. People up there shouting all types of things, saying this, that, and the other, with children present. It was at that point that I said, how could we consciously as a community be okay with children being around this kind of stuff? And so it shifted my thought process to say, if we're really serious about getting families back to local football games, then I think it would make sense to eliminate the consumption or sale of alcohol during the actual games. Now, I don't care if people say, well, that's going to impact the clubs financially this way and that. I honestly don't care. I've had those conversations with Maceo Dill, and Maceo, to be fair, has actually given solutions. He's given solutions as to maybe instead of relying on alcohol, let's find different sponsorships. Let's be the first to be responsible in this respect. Right? Yep. Instead of focusing on alcohol, we can start an after school care program. There's so many different things. So I'm not buying the fact that you need alcohol to make a club work in Bermuda. I know that's how it feels right now for some clubs. Like, well, that's how we get our biggest. That's how it happens now. But with a little thinking and creativity, there are other ways to do it, folks. There are other
And
ways.
again, it comes with the other side, which is not necessarily what we're seeing the refs of out for, but I'm sure it's a contributing factor to the verbal abuse that they've suffered.
Indeed. And Traveling Charlie says, Jamal, there's alcohol at rugby and other sports. And I feel the same way there. I've always said I've been a proponent there as well, as far as rugby. I mean, there have been incidents that have happened over the years after rugby.
And they get covered up.
And let's be honest, they've been out there. So I don't feel any different about that. I feel anywhere there are children present in public spaces. I'm not talking about your family cookout or family dinner, but I've been a proponent. So no, I don't disagree with that as well. Let's go more comments. Shikarena says the referees are protecting their energy, not engaging in negative. I think we went through that one. Terry, we went through that one as well. Traveling Trotty says, is there a spectator code of conduct? When was the last time it was shared with attendees? Good question, Traveling Trotty.
Excellent question.
Terry responds saying not specifically, but most clubs have codes of conduct that are applicable to their members. Not sure if that can be applied to their grounds for fans as well. She goes on to say, P.S. what community clubs need is resources to help them in their efforts to reach out for sponsorship. Well, Terry, having been worked closely with my community club, all you need is the right people. I'm just gonna, from my experience, all you need is the right people in the clubs to do that. And if you have the right people in those clubs, I loved working for my local club. Unfortunately, I don't have the capacity to do it right now, but all you need is the right people to get those sponsorships. And I don't want to go into much detail because some's confidential, but you and I maybe can speak on the side about that at a later time. Carlton Fleming says, is it a community club or a business? The clubs need new ways to generate money. At the end of the day, community clubs have to evolve as businesses. That's
and I don't think sports that are reliant as a community club, I think that model's outdated. And I think they need to begin to shift to be separate from community clubs. Again, a different topic for a different day.
Indeed, folks. We've got some guests waiting backstage. Another important conversation. So please, if you enjoyed the discussion, you're going to enjoy this more. The importance of professional coaching and development and mentorship. This is one of my favorite topics. Leanna's out today, so bear with me. I'm going to take a shot at my Leanna impression doing the news real quick.
You guys have got to be brutal on him, like critique him heavily.
I mean, I do it to you, so you don't have to use me. All right, let's go to the news break brought to you by Peoples, and then we'll take a quick commercial break and be back with Garita Coddington and Jamila Godwin of KPMG, folks. We'll be discussing professional development and coaching. All right, over to me. All right, this is your the Daily Hour News Break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. So if you have been sleeping, Premier and Finance Minister the Honorable David Burt delivered the government's 22-23 budget statement on Friday. While he didn't go into details about how much each ministry received, he did share a couple of positives as vehicle licensing fees are expected to be reduced by 10% for private cars, and payroll taxes are expected to be cut for lower earners. One Bermuda Alliance leader, Cole Simon, said, quote, this was not a responsible budget. Instead, it felt like a political one, an election budget, end quote. Stay tuned for the OBA's response this Friday, March 4th. And we'll discuss the budget tomorrow with economist Craig Simmons. As you just heard, Larry and myself discussed, no football matches went ahead yesterday as referees refused to work in response to ongoing abuse directed at officials. The BFA will likely be issuing a full statement in the coming days. Weather-wise, well, check your phone or go outside, but I heard it showers in the vicinity. That's your report. That's your news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy, folks. I'm sorry I can't be Leanna, but hey, she'll be back hopefully tomorrow. Larry, I think I did okay. I don't know. What you think? I mean, that's the best weather report you're going to get, right?
Lee, look forward to your return.
Oh, wow. That's how to do it. Well, you know what? It is days of the year. So I've got to give, Sherry usually gives you the days of the year.
Yes.
So, today, check this out, right? and big props. It's a lot of different days today. So we have National Tooth Fairy Day. Now, Mama, I want to thank you for being the tooth fairy you were. You pay it pretty well. You pay it pretty well. But National Tooth Fairy today, February 28th, is National Tooth Fairy Day. It's also National Floral Design Day, right? National Floral Design. So if you're into flowers and floral stuff, that's your thing. It's National Floral Design Day. And then it's National Chocolate Souffle Day. So if you need an excuse to
do this,
a little dessert, then this is your day, folks. All right. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're coming back with Garita Coddington and Jamila Godwin. Don't go anywhere. Stick with us.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's, I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Hi, I'm Karen, a nurse at the old folks home. These long hours used to kill my feet until my hairdresser told me about a great place to buy a pair of clogs. Medical House. Finally, relief. They also carry uniforms in bright, bold colors. And not to mention the support stockings.
Karen, Miss Soltis bet her bet again.
Oh gosh, these days, I need all the support I can get.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendy Town Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke.
This month, we're again featuring an important dealer in the whole food industry, Aurora Natural Products, who started in Connecticut in 1998 with 4 employees and now employ hundreds, all devoted to producing a wide variety of all natural and organic goods to an ever-expanding market. Aurora have become a national leader in the whole food distribution business and are ever mindful of the big picture, monitoring the path of each and every ingredient from their source to your table. Try Aurora Natural Raw Shelled Pistachios. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
All righty, welcome back to the big show. Larry Marshall Jr., myself, Jamel Hartman. Thanks again to Medical's, Lindo's, One Communications, People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. Definitely appreciate the support, and even you folks who are out there teasing me for my Leanna impression this morning. Look, a brother's got to do what a brother's got to do. We're a bit behind time, so let's bring in our guests for the day. We've got Garita Coddington and Jamila Godwin. Welcome to the show, ladies. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having us. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good morning.
Excellent.
Thank you for coming. Obviously, this morning, Larry was going off his head about sports and so on. I had to reel him back in. He got a little out of hand sometimes, but as a coach, he knows better. But let's get right into the conversation. As I stated before you guys came in, I love conversations like this. I enjoy them. I don't have permission to call the names of my mentors and those who have helped me in my career from coaching perspectives and so on. But some of them are CEOs in Bermuda. Some of them and some of them are just HR professionals in Bermuda. But before we get into the conversation, I know, Garita, you actually made a transition from education to the corporate sector. How has your transition from education to the private sector assisted you in your role in learning development?
That's a really good question. I spent 20 years in education, the last 10 being a principal, and had been a leader for maybe 17 of those 20 years. So the first thing that helped with my transition was the ability to be able to manage people and to be able to understand the needs of people, and why, as a leader, it's important to meet the needs, be clear, and have great relationships. Another thing that was really important with the transition is being able to toggle things or toggle various projects at the same time. KPMG has a very fast-paced environment. You have to catch on and learn so many things very quickly. And definitely the last thing is to be dedicated to your work. As a principal in the education system, I know Mr. Marshall very well. When he was a teacher in the system, but it's very important that your dedication to the cause, I call it the just cause, that hasn't changed for me. So moving from supporting the growth of students, parents, teachers, staff transitioning to the corporate world to support the growth of, anyone within the staff of KPMG, whether it's an administrator, staff accountant, all the way up to the CEO. It's really important to show that dedication and go with them and be with them on the journey.
Interesting. And I mean, it's quite a transition. And I always say, you've probably heard me say it all just now earlier in the show. I think the two hardest jobs in Bermuda are definitely educators and police. So props to you and Larry Marshall Jr. because bless you both. It's not easy. But that said, other sectors in Bermuda are benefiting from what you were able to do in the education sector. But let's talk about professional coaching. What is professional coaching? What does it entail?
So professional coaching is a relationship that a coach has with what I call their client. And that's an individual who has made the decision that they want change within their lives, right? It can be professional, it can be personal. At KPMG, I'm a leadership coach, I call myself, and I can be an executive coach. But this is where the client actually spends 80% of the time in a session talking based on their goals, talking with the coach about what they want to do and how they want to get there. Now, the role of a coach is to be an empathic listener and to ask powerful questions based on the information the client is giving you. So again, unlike a mentor, a coach is there to support the client based on the journey that they choose to take. At times, though, we do have some of the supervisors that maybe a client is sent to the coach to get some further support. So that's when we'll have something what we call a triangulation meeting, where we bring in the performance manager to talk about the strengths and opportunities for growth of that specific person and what we want to work on to get measurable results. So it's a really cool relationship. Yeah.
Interesting. And why is having, because I didn't realize this until probably mid to late career, even though people had taken me under their wing, I didn't understand and appreciate it. But why is having a professional coach necessary for someone's career and development?
First of all, in our culture, I didn't know either, Jamal. I didn't get a coach until I was ready to become a principal. And I had one of the best coaches, and she was a mentor. She flip-flopped the role possible, right? Vivian Cooper. It's so important for us, even with our young people. I heard you talking about football, which is my favorite sport ever, North Village. But it's so important that having coaches, not just the coaches for the kids, but the coaches for the adults, to allow the adults to be really focused on what they want to get out of something and help them to kind of unpack information and scaffold information for themselves so they know where they want to go. So it alleviates some of the dysfunctional behaviors that we're seeing right now in the public. So having a coach is important. And I say every leader should have a coach. As many people should have coaches, teachers should have coaches, not just to deliver curriculum, but also to work on time management and, helping with their leadership skills. And that's something I find in our community, that there's a gap, right? People think, oh, I don't need a coach, or I've never heard of coaching, and why is something wrong with me? No, this individual is brought on to help you to kind of aspire to meet your goals, right? To meet your dreams. And since I had the coach when I was preparing for the interview for principalship and my journey as a principal, I haven't looked back. So, today I have a coach. And as I would say again, every leader should have a coach.
Agreed. Jamila, we go high school, buddy. Me and Jamila in high school together. We both still look sharp. But I know we're both I call myself a former athlete. You may still be current with your athleticism. But I know we kind of look at things through sports and a coaching role. But how do you believe, you have benefited from having a professional coach and the similarities between the two?
I know working with Garita has definitely benefited me. My boss, she's pushed me, she stretched me, but bringing on Garita gave me that extra push, and she helped me navigate situations where I wasn't sure how to speak up. So for instance, sometimes I would sit in meetings and I'll be quiet, and I wasn't sure how to be not necessarily confident, but have a voice at the table. And she said, listen to somebody you look up to at the firm. And she said, write down the questions. And if there's the same questions could apply to whatever meeting I'm in, that allows me to have a voice. So that simple little tip gave me the confidence to start speaking up. And playing sports, it helps give you confidence because you're put on a platform to show out, show your skills. And yeah, the similarities comes down to being confident.
Right. Yeah, very interesting. Most people, as Garita spoke about earlier, don't really know about professional coaches, and I agreed with everything you said. I agreed back when you was a mentor, teacher, and I think it happens a lot unofficially. But what advice would you give someone who doesn't have a professional coach, and then to kind of piggyback on that, like someone that is doubtful of a professional coach?
I would say show up, be prepared, and be vulnerable to the process. Because if you're not showing up and doing what you need to do to put yourself in uncomfortable opportunities, then what's the point of having a coach? You know, Garita was good at pushing me to the forefront and bringing me into conversations on a larger scale that I would have never thought. Like now I'm working with KPMG Islands Group, and I had the opportunity to roll out the LinkedIn Learning platform to the island jurisdictions. If it wasn't for Garita, I probably wouldn't have been pulled into that conversation. So I had a sponsor, somebody advocating for me at the table that I didn't even realize it. And that only came about because I was the communications lead on a project locally that she liked how I work. So she just started pulling me into the conversation. But you have to be vulnerable to the coaching process in order for someone to actually put you in this this type of conversations.
It's interesting because I want to go back to Karen Simmons has a comment. She says, agree, Garita, that every leader should have a coach. And as you're speaking, Jamila, I feel like there's this level of trust that you have in her, right? There's like you're speaking confidently about, oh, this is a person I trust to guide me and direct me. But I want to, and I'm like this, so don't worry about me. But I often speak about the Premier David Burt, who advises him when we speak about leaders should have a coach. And you know, Michael Jordan, as great as he was, he had coaches. He had Phil Jackson. You remember Phil Jackson as much as you do Michael Jordan. Tom Brady had what was the guy in New England? Bill Belichick.
Bill
right?
Belichick, yeah.
They were still players that were coached during their success in their careers. But I guess what I'm leading towards is Traveling Trotter's question. What should a person look for in a professional / executive coach so that we can have the relationship and confidence that Jamila has in Garita?
That's a good question, Traveling Trotty. So first of all, you have to know what you want to get out of the relationship. Is this someone who has the credentials or has the experience on the journey that you want to take? Is this someone who you have kind of vetted or done some background information to see how other people have gotten along with this specific coach? And also look at the coach's journey professionally and even personally. What is that person actually, what have they been through that allowed them to develop and are able to have the characteristics to help to develop you? And also it will be nice to know if that coach actually has a coach themselves, because good coaches have coaches. So those are some of the things that you should be looking to when you're looking for a professional or executive coach. I hope I answered your question. I don't know if you want me to expand any further.
No, that was perfect. Well, Traveling Trotty, she's talking to you. Do you need her to expand any further? That was your question. But I thought it was great. And, you know, I guess from Jamila, your perspective, if Garita said, you know, hey, I don't have the time to necessarily coach or mentor you anymore at this point, would you be looking for a duplicate, or are you now in a space where you probably could say, you know what, I don't need that level of mentorship or coaching now, but now I need something more specific at this point? What would you look for today versus what you got when you got Garita?
I would look for, first, I would assess where my weaknesses are, where I think I would need to improve, and then that would determine how I would go about looking for a coach or a different coach. And for all I know, that could be within Garita. I would have to assess basically what I need, my weaknesses or areas of improvement, and that would be how I would go about looking for a coach. Hope that answered your question.
No, it did.
Okay.
Yeah, Larry.
Rook, very interesting. You brought up the word vulnerable, and I found that very interesting because that allows for self-reflection and looking within, also with while telling someone your story, and I think that allows for a learning experience. And I think so many people are prideful on they don't want to show that they're doing anything wrong or I'm good enough and that type of thing. So, Coach, how do we break down that type of situation?
That's an enlightening question, because we have to remember the examples. Jamal gave examples, you gave examples of the best who have coaches, and to understand that the coach is to elevate you, not to just identify or stop you because, oh my God, you don't do this well. The coach is someone that you don't just get the coach. This is a mindset when you're in trouble. You get the coach when you want to be able to, when you have identified a goal and you want to aspire and go on a journey to reach that goal, right? So it's an ongoing relationship. I always say the rule of thumb is that when you have a coach, it should be a minimum of 6 months that you're working with this individual so that you can consistently look at the growth and other areas of development or using your strengths to open up doors that you never thought would open for you. So that's the mindset. And I say our people because that's not been part of the conversation around the table when we were growing up, right? The conversation was around the table was to go to school, do what you got to do, go to college, do what you got to do, come back, get a job. You want to somehow get a promotion. That's a different conversation than succession planning. Where do I fit into the company? But now, even with my children, I have a 17-year-old and a 21-year-old, and they understand what their mother does. And, part of my role as their mother now as young adults is to support them and coach them, not to mother them at times, but to coach them in different areas, especially when my young person, Remy, is overseas. When he has things he wants to talk about, or he has challenges or even celebrations, how do we get to the next level? Because we never stop, right? It's an infinite mindset. We continue to go. We continue to see how we're going to be able to grow and do better and open up, again, more doors for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I'm loving this, and I think I come across so many posts, and I want to touch on what you said. That we've been taught to you go away, get a degree, you come back, you work, and there are numerous young people for this is not new, but it's happened for decades where they come back and they can't find a job in their field, so they get discouraged and so on. How important is it to get a coach while you're in college or before you're in college? Like if you're going away to study, let's say social work, right? That coming out, there's going to be a lot of people up for jobs in social work. At what point should someone say, look, I need to get a professional coach. It can help my career, rather than waiting until they're in that position where they have nowhere to turn?
That should be embedded, I feel, when we look at the education system, even at the university level, when we're talking about, they don't call them guidance counselors, but I forget, each year you're in college, you have that person you go to help you to choose your courses, et cetera, prepare for graduation. I think there needs to be another step put within that where we are exposing young people to the coaching arena, right? Even at the high school level, looking to see how we are supporting them. And remember, the difference between coaching and mentoring will tell more. Coaching is asking questions based on the goals that the individual would like to aspire towards. So if we allow our young people to develop that mindset early, we will have them asking more powerful questions and the coach being able to then support them with answering their own questions. So we become more self-sufficient and we have more people that are thinking versus just doing things within the community that make no sense, right? Because their mind is more channeled towards how am I going to get better to help the overall community, right? Locally or globally. So I think it starts where we make a shift in how we're thinking through education, through community clubs. I'm a North Village girl, definitely. Born, bred in North Village. I look now, what can we do even more to layer how we're supporting our young people and even our coaches? So if we have a coach, if I'm looking at you or Larry and you're working for North Village and you're a coach, there should be something also put in place to coach you as a leader of how you present yourself so that we are always a role model, so that when the parents come and they're coming to training or they're coming to games, there is an expectation. It was very difficult, the transition when Remy and Cree went to England and Remy was playing, and my father and I, and Macia was even up there, the behaviors that we have in Bermuda as spectators, parents, to the behaviors that are the expectation. And really, they had to coach you through that process of making that pivot or that shift, right? So coaching can happen in any arena. It's about the creativity of how we utilize individuals to expand those people that are a target audience, because at the end of the day, we just want progress and positivity.
Indeed, indeed.
Jamal, can I add to that?
Yep, go ahead.
I wish I would have had a coach a lot sooner, mainly because I would have known how to build a career plan. I would have been able to navigate situations, well, not necessarily situations, but navigate the corporate world a little better. Because at one point, I was the person that thought, oh, you get promoted by just doing the work. No, you have to put yourself in the forefront and put yourself in those positions to be recognized and show what you can do in order to get those promotions. So I wish I would have definitely had a coach a lot sooner.
And as,
Jamila, oops, I was
no,
going to say,
I was
Jamila.
going to ask that follow up, but go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say part of the coaching, Jamila, remember I said you always have to be remembered, right? What are
Yeah.
they going to remember you in the room? And it's also how you show up, how you speak, what you look like when you add your 2 cents into the conversation. Yeah. So I'm glad you added that piece on, because that's important.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I mean, without giving away our ages, but you are in a millennial, if we can put it like that. And so I think that what you just stated, Jamila, is important. Excuse me. My apologies. I'm still here, folks. I'm still here. I think it's important to have that conversation with people in your generation, because those are the people that you really see making those comments a lot, that there's no opportunity for me, or there's no I can't find a job. Karen Simmons has a question. Do you think that coaches understand that they should be elevating the person and the goals that they have set out for themselves, coaches who act more as mentors?
True coaches who have been trained understand their role as supporting the goals of the client. The mentor says, I've been down this journey before, and now I'm going to help you to navigate better than I have navigated and network to expose you to things. So, first of all, the coach has to understand what their role is, what they've been charged to do for the client versus, and at times we do cross the line with mentoring and coaching, but I always tell people I was a mentor for 4 years in the education system before becoming a principal. That's a different role. You coach and you can mentor, you mentor and you can coach, but there's a fine line of what you're doing for the actual client.
Interesting. And before you go, again, this is a helpful conversation. And Jamila, just to go in the back of what you said about, if you had a coach sooner, about career planning and the like, I think, so many of us don't think of that. They don't think of career planning. I think there's this attitude, and it's not a bad thing, that we come out of college, we get a job, and we stay there for a long time, tenure. And tenure equates to promotion. And I want to emphasize, because I can't say it enough, that I don't know if there's a cultural thing in certain sectors in Bermuda, but tenure is not. Go ahead, Larry. I see.
It's because this has kind of got me thinking in the way of, we've talked about the individual, but how do we get the companies, the employers to embrace this type of thing? And I'm only work for one employer my whole life, Bermuda government, and I think coaching could be beneficial. So how do we get that shift to happen?
I know at KPMG, I know ESG is a big thing right now, environmental, social, and governance. And KPMG hiring on Garita, they emphasize the people section, the social section. And Garita has definitely helped a lot of employees. And so now she's teaching courses, whether it's having difficult conversations, rising female leader, succession planning. And her courses are just so powerful, Garita, you want to add anything about that?
Yes.
Larry, I
Talk
hope
to us about those courses.
Yeah. Well, I want to, before I talk about the courses, I want to talk about what Larry shared or asked the question about how can companies engage more of looking at a coaching model. And it's important because at KPMG, before I came, they had coaching within the firm by the performance managers, but not a dedicated coach for their leaders to develop other leaders. Is building capacity, right? So I think even within government, I look back and I look at things that could have helped and supported building capacity with future leaders and how a coach could have helped. So I implore and I encourage all organizations, no matter if you're small or no matter how big you are, is to look at what are the beginning steps that I need to take to develop this coaching culture. And it's not always bringing an outside person in, but you can also send people to KPMG courses, two specific courses that we have. The first course, part one, is coaching for high performance. And we talk about, what is actual coaching versus mentoring, coaching versus counseling, and what does it mean to be a coach, and what are some of the first things you can do to navigate that space. And then we take is another course called Advanced Coaching Skills for Individuals and Teams. And that's where we actually do even more intentional, intense work where participants on the call have to go through the coaching model. And I use the ASARA model, which comes from the CAP Institute where I was trained. And it's allowing the individual, and I always say we do this survey to say, are you a coach? Do you think you're a coach? What do other people think about you, and having them feel uncomfortable actually using a model to coach someone through versus just coming up with, ideas on the spot and really mentoring people versus coaching people. So those are two courses that can actually be the first steps to organizations sending people who they identify as, people that can be coaches within their organization to start the journey with developing this coaching culture. I truly believe that if more organizations and community clubs, very big community clubs, inherit or want to start developing a coaching culture, we're going to see a bigger bang for our buck. We're going to have some pivots in what's happening in the community and having more people focus not on just looking to, go through a company for X amount of years, but like really looking to see how can I expand myself? Is this the right place for me for where I want to be in 5 years? It just gets you thinking bigger on a bigger scale.
That's huge. And
That's
and
it.
again, this is not me picking on Bermuda, but it's something that, having worked outside of Bermuda majority of my life, I've noticed it was something in Bermuda that was norm about tenure equating to, expectation. One last question before you both head out. Michelle White's asking, is it possible that the client excels beyond the experience of the coach? What happens then?
Oh, that's such a good question. First, and I have to ask Michelle, what does she mean by excel beyond the coach? Is she talking about the technical skills, the soft skills? I just need to find out. So for KPMG, for example, I have no background in business. I probably took one business course in Berkeley when I was there. I coach specifically in leadership, right? And in that arena. So I would like for Michelle to give an example. What does she mean by if an individual excels more than the coach? I don't understand the question.
Yeah, if you can give us more insight,
Yes.
Michelle, just explain what you mean by that. But let's say, I mean, I pick up a coach and I want that coach to really help guide me to the C-suite of a company if that's my goal. And once I get there, is it, do I say, oh, thanks, I'm here now, peace out, or check you later? Or is there, what should I be looking for at that point?
So now you're scaffolded the question, so I get it. So once the coach, and this is, I think someone asked Jamila.
Actually, hold on. She actually
okay,
said
she's
the same
actually
thing. She
client
said,
moves from like what you said. Okay, thank you so much, Michelle. So depending, again, you can still have the same coach, but remember the coach follows the journey or the goals of the client. So they're your biggest cheerleader and, removes all hurdles to get you from point A to point B. So let's say you moved from the clerk to the CEO. You may then utilize that coach in a different way, depending on what specifically you want to work on now that you're at the CEO level. So you go on a different tangent based on what over the next 6 months you want to work on it with your coach. On the other hand, you can then identify someone specifically that is a C-suite coach. So I know at KPMG, we're looking at specifically a C-suite coach for our MDs that specifically work with that level of leadership to kind of allow their thinking to go at a higher level. So as far as leadership's concerned.
All righty. We are out of time, but I definitely I would love to make sure that we have these kind of conversations more often.
Yeah,
More
just need
specific on certain areas, because I think you said something that I didn't consider: the difference between mentoring and coaching.
Yeah.
Don't forget sponsors as well.
Sponsor. Yeah, someone mentioned that in the comments earlier as well. This is great. This is great, and I'm grateful that you trusted our platform to have this conversation. Obviously, we have a very an audience who is at a certain level in terms of where they are in their careers, and I think they appreciate the level of conversation. So don't be strangers. Thank you for trusting the platform, and please know that whenever you need us, we're here. All right.
Thanks, Jamila. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
Larry.
All right, good stuff.
Nice to
Have
see
a great
you.
one. Alrighty.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Alrighty. All that Noah Village in the house. You couldn't handle that this morning, Devonshire. I hear you. Couldn't handle that this morning, Devonshire. But folks, thanks again to Garita, Coddington, and Jamila Godwin. If you appreciated that conversation and the information shared, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. And don't forget, today is your last day to be eligible to win $500. Just go to our website. All you have to do, literally, folks, is go subscribe to the YouTube page and put done on a past episode. Like, yeah. We love you, Facebook. We do. But folks, if you want to be eligible to win that $500 for February, today is your last day. Again, thanks again to the ladies from KPMG. Give them a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure we're sharing these kind of conversations. You know, I tell you all the time, around the water cooler, at that family cookout or family dinner, instead of arguing about politics and religion, have a conversation about what we're discussing on this very show. We're going to take
group chats.
Yeah, good group chats. Seriously, group chats are an importance. We're more likely to share who got drunk or team lost, right? But hey, don't go anywhere. We're gonna take a quick break and come back, wrap it up, and yeah, get ready for tomorrow's big episode on the budget. Stick with us.
A lot happens around your home. That is why at One Communications, we have introduced affordable security and video monitoring, because everyone should be able to afford to protect their family. Anytime, from anywhere, One Home Security keeps you connected and puts security in your hands with an easy-to-use smartphone app to control everything. Home security is important to keep you and your family safe. Motion-activated cameras around your home and security monitoring within create a complete security system providing protection both inside and outside your home. Professional monitoring means that there's someone on call with 24/7 protection to notify the authorities and help keep you and your loved ones safe. We are dedicated to whole home protection with indoor and outdoor cameras, smart door locks, motion sensor, and more, so you'll always be connected to what matters most. With professional installation, no upfront hardware fees, and low monthly rates, because keeping your family safe should be affordable for everyone. Total home video monitoring and security, there's no better way to protect your home than with One Home Security.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Larry Marshall Jr., myself, Jamel Hartman. Thanks again to One Communications, People's Pharmacy Medicals, Lindos. What are your thoughts on today's show, man? What you got for us?
Well, I'm so happy the refs are taking a stance for what they're doing. I would say keep going and do not settle for anything less than the standard they deserve. I thoroughly enjoyed the coaching, and I'm big into coaching and learning and the model of which that is kind of going on. I like to see it implemented in more places and more in how do you recognize that someone should become a coach, because I think that's important also.
Indeed. Honestly, I just think that as a community, we should be very concerned when officials of any sport, or it could be teachers. We just talk about teachers when they go on leave. We talk about government workers when they don tools. We should be very concerned about the abuse towards any officials, regardless of the job that they're doing. We have to do better, because if we don't get control of things, it spreads over into the community. In regards to Garita and Jamila, I just think it's excellent. It was a great conversation. And, as many things as I see young people saying on social media, my question to any of them would be, do you have a career coach? And if the answer is no, and I'm not talking about a mentor, like someone who just advises you, and something Garita said, and this is no offense, but there's levels to who you choose as your career coach. You don't want to choose someone who's literally on your level or someone who has not probably achieved where you're trying to go, right? Again, those people that I speak to, we're talking actuaries, we're talking about CEOs. That's who I value in terms of where I would like to go or be. So we have to choose wisely. So young people, make sure that you take advantage of the opportunities to get yourselves career coaches. I doubt you'd regret it. It's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0. Great taste, no alcohol. It's a very easy one today, but help Larry out, folks. He may need your help, or he may not.
The easy ones are the trickiest ones, man.
All right, it's a quote. Here we go. Who said it? Quote, if you do the work, you get rewarded. There are no shortcuts in life. End quote.
Give me the sport.
That'll be too easy if I gave you the sport, but it's only two players.
Michael Jordan.
Okay, he got it, folks.
Yeah, that was just his most popular one.
I mean, he got it, folks. He got whatever.
Even the guesses were on point. Sherry,
his second shots at you.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Sherry, you got a week of this to deal with, Sherry. Anyway, thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. He's Larry Marshall Jr. I'm Jamila Hartman. My friends, make it a safe and great day. We are out. Peace.